So I'm always stressing multiple pulls in the water from a marketing perspective. And I mean by pulls in the water, let's talk about fishing, right? So if my goal, and I always use this analogy, if my goal was to go out and fish, I'd put 10 pulls in the water to catch one fish rather than rely on one pull to catch 10. So you have to put yourself in the mind of the client rather than maybe ourselves like, oh, that wouldn't work. Why would that work? I wouldn't do that. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not the consumer.
All right.
So a lot of things too we need to understand is that when we do the marketing and other things, you have to put yourself in the mind of the prospect, not what resonates to you. Print was huge for us and it still is. So doing the advertising and marketing, I wasn't ignorant to the fact that if I wanted to grow the business, I had to put money to make money. And I'm happy to do that all day long as there's a return. So I'm of the mindset if I can put $1 into the ATM and get $3 back, it's a win all day long. People say this all the time, and it's absolutely true. Your kids do not care about how much time you spend with them. They care about the quality of the time that you spend with them. So being present and active in those moments, right? So it's putting the phone down, ignoring the emails, and just spending undivided time with them and creating life experiences. And that's when I shut down and then give them my undivided attention. I always say we don't have a cookie cutter exercise program for anybody. I have a protocol. We follow the protocol. I tell my team, learn the rules before you break the rules. And breaking the rules is simply meeting the individual with their limitations, what we need to do. I mean, I can always put my head down at night and thank God for what we do and how we do it, because we help so many people improve the quality of their life when most people succumb to that aging process.
So Lauren's still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your strength training business and fueling your passion for high intensity training. I'm joined today by the owner of MaxStrength Fitness, Jeff Tomaszewski. Jeff, great to be with you again. I really appreciate you making the time as always.
Pleasure. Absolutely. Anytime.
Jeff, great to see you. Thank you for making the time. And yeah, I mean, as I said to you before we got started, I was listening to our first podcast and just loving every moment of it. I learned so much talking to you and listening to you, and got some great questions from the community as well. So excited to talk to you again. Just while we get started, I'd love to hear, like, how's everything going with MaxStrength Fitness? Like, where are you at in terms of like locations? What are the goals for 2026 and beyond?
Sure. Yeah. So as of the end of this week, we'll have 24 franchise partners, 47 territories awarded. We'll get close to, we'll get over 50 by the end of this month. Territories awarded. Most of our studio owners are, or franchise partners, I should say, are multi-unit owners. So it's been growing. It's been great. It's been an adventure, and we're just in my goal is to get to close to around 100 by the end of the year would be the ultimate goal.
Were you looking at like a vision board then, or like a whiteboard? Just the way you looked up, was that just?
Oh yeah. So from my screen, I have my big map of the United States, and I have all the pins around everywhere. And then left-hand side, I have my pipeline that has all my numbers. And on the right-hand side, I have for prospects on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we have what's called A to O. It's awarded to open. So I can know exactly where every franchise partner's in the pipeline there. I'm a very visual person.
I love that.
My entire wall is maps and boards, and I move things around. Yeah, I'm interactive like that.
Is it like whiteboards, that kind of thing?
Yeah,
for the most part?
two whiteboards, and I have a big
Nice.
printed map that's the United States, and it's in our colors and branded. And then I have orange pins for those that are awarded but in development, and I have blue pins that are in the ones that are open.
I love that. It's like you're playing Risk. It's like a war strategy kind of.
Yeah. So I stare at those all day long, and I in my head move things around and add pins to it. Yeah, so it is my vision board, if you would.
Yeah, that's great. I have a whiteboard right behind it, my own goals on it. So I love that. We're very similar in that way.
Sure.
And what, sorry, just to clarify then, how many locations does that mean that are currently either pending or open? Yeah.
Yeah. So currently we have 8 franchise partners open. I have 3 corporate studios open. We'll have an additional 4 coming open in the next 60 days. By the end of the year in 2026, we should have 24 to 25 of them open franchise partners. So close to around 30, 5 studios included.
Okay. And do you have like an idea of how big you want to take this? Is there a cap of like how many franchises you'd like, or have you thought about that?
I mean, I'm not greedy, but I would love to get to around 250, 300 within the ecosystem.
Yeah. Is that the BHAG? Go ahead.
A BHAG would be 500. I think realistically,
wow.
my goal is 250, 300 around there. We'll get that within 4 to 5 years is the plan. Wow. If we can do 50 per year moving forward, we'll get there pretty quick.
And would you ever go outside the United States? I know the United States is a massive, massive opportunity,
Yeah, I mean, there's
but
there's so much opportunity within the United States, and yes, there's a opportunity elsewhere too. So I'm never closed-minded. I'm always a growth-minded guy. But right now we've just got so much to take on in the United States and help those in the continental United States. But it's definitely not outside the realm of possibility.
cool, got it. Awesome. So, obviously, one of the questions we have from the community, which is no surprise, is how is Jeff getting clients for Max Strength Fitness? And you've been so generous in the past, in terms of your features on the podcast, but also in our paid community, contributing, you know, the different ways in which you've generated leads over time. And I would love to hear specifically, primarily for your franchisees further afield, what your strategy is looking like in terms of how you're generating leads for the business right
Yeah,
now.
so it hasn't changed in 21 years, although the biggest thing that has changed is Meta platform, right? So before 2020, I'd say before the pandemic hit, I never did any advertising on Facebook, Instagram, any of those platforms, primarily because I tested it, but it never worked. So, and primarily because our demographic wasn't on those platforms. But then, a global pandemic hits, and all of those people are forced to go online by Zoom and FaceTime to interact and communicate with people. We shut down and we turned into a virtual studio within 3 days, and we had to teach every single person, 50 and above and some 70 and 80-year-olds how to FaceTime and how to Zoom. And that was a challenge, but they're all on there now, which is great. So we do get a ton of leads from Facebook. Now, that being said, the number one complaint with my franchise partners, and I get it, is the leads aren't good. The quality of leads
Right, right.
suck. So I always look at it from this perspective. If you can get 15 to 20% of your lead flow to get into a consultation and then convert 65% of those into a paid client, I mean, you're talking like 10%, overall from lead to client, which it doesn't sound high at all, but at the end of the day, that's the game. So it's a quality over it's quantity over quality when it comes to that. But it is our number one lead source across all of our all of our franchise partners. Although I always tell my franchise partners, don't rely on one thing, obviously. So, I always say, about 60% should come from your paid advertising, and that includes your Meta, but also oversized postcards, direct mail, magazines, newspapers, and I'm talking like local newspapers that are niched into affiliate communities, not like your general local newspaper. So we target a lot of those. So that's your paid should come 60%, and then the other 40% should come from your organic or your boots on the ground. And I call that community engagement. So it's your strategic alliances with physical therapists, massage therapists. We got a wine bar, high-end restaurants, people who are already serving our demographic. We want to form strategic alliances with. So BNI, you've talked about that. We like to try to form our own little BNIs, if you would, so that we're all cross promoting each other so we can strategically refer back and forth. So we're working really hard with our franchise partners to get out in the community. I say, be the mayor of the town, kiss babies and shake hands, right? And those who are going out in the community, developing those strategic alliances, engaging their sphere of influence, going to the Chamber of Commerce, doing public speaking. Those are good for us. Senior centers, places of that nature. That's like shooting fish in a barrel a lot of times because you've got a captive audience. They need it. So I'm always stressing multiple pulls in the water from a marketing perspective. And I mean by pulls in the water, let's talk about fishing, right? So if my goal, and I always use this analogy, if my goal was to go out and fish, I'd put 10 pulls in the water to catch one fish rather than rely on one pull to catch 10. So we're always looking at multifaceted. Those who are the most successful in our system are always constantly, they have at least 8 to 10 different pulls in the water from a marketing every single month. And so we're always doing community outreach. We have a whole playbook and quarterly calendar that goes into the paid ads, but also that are in the paid marketing, but then also into the community. And then building the community with inside your community, right? Because the nature of us being one-on-one, at least we are, it's hard to build quote unquote community within inside your studios if you don't do the little extra things. Like, for example, in January, we did a consistency challenge. And those who followed it and those who did it had great engagement within their studios. So now the studio, the clients are looking at the big TV we have, and it's looking at the challenge. And we do live Facebook things with a spinner wheel and announcing the winners. In February, we did a Valentine's Day crossword puzzle or word search. And you're like, well, why would you do that? Well, these clients, 50 and above, most of them female, love those things. So you have to put yourself in the mind of the client rather than maybe ourselves. Like, oh, that wouldn't work. Why would that work? I wouldn't do that. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not the consumer.
All right.
So a lot of things too we need to understand is that when we do the marketing and other things, you have to put yourself in the mind of the prospect, not what resonates to you. Because I hear words and things sometimes. Now, here's the interesting thing. I've aged into my demographic being 50 years old now. And I started this 20 years ago. So
Right.
I was like, I don't understand why these people, so what keeps them up at night? What resonates with them? How do you get inside of the head of the 60, 70-year-old female who's postmenopausal now, and then the 50-year-olds who are menopausal and going through all of those things, you have to relate to those. So it's putting yourself inside the mind of the targeted prospect, of the audience, of your clients, and doing all of those things. So it's paid advertising, unpaid, boots on the ground, strategic alliances. It's constant out there. Like you can't rely on just one thing. I wish we could, but we can't. And those who go out and do it and are very active in the community, they drive a lot of clientele. My goal is to get, if you could get 4 to 5 from your Facebook meta ads per month, and then you get 6 from other other revenues or other outreaches, maybe 1 or 2 from each of them, and then add referrals on top of that. Once you start to grow, now you've got a steady stream of revenue coming in from new prospects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So multi-faceted approach is what we preach.
That is a lot of stuff. So how do you, with limited resources, right? I know in the beginning, the franchisee will have a lot more time, right? To do a lot of these things. But as they get busier, that becomes more difficult, especially to do each one well. Okay, you don't agree with me. I'm curious. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the reason I want to stop you there is because I'm not sure if you understand who our franchisee typically is.
Okay.
Our franchise partners are what we call the executive model. They're not an owner operator. They're not training on the day-to-day. So their best use of their time is 2 things. It's leading their team, and it's getting out and driving community awareness and driving clientele in the business and creating those strategic alliances. So they're not in the studio training all day long. Like I used to be an owner operator for, 15 years. And then I said, all right, if I'm going to franchise this thing, it can't run with Jeff. I can't be in the day-to-day. I need to work on my business rather than in my business, because otherwise I just owned a really good job. And I think that's maybe a lot of people in this, listening to this podcast, they might be in that situation. That's fine. They don't have aspirations to grow big, and that's fine too. But if you do want to grow big, you have to get outside of the mindset of being in the business all day long and thinking that I'm the best person who can do it, even though you might be and you should be. But trust me, there are thousands of people out there, because we've found them, who love high intensity strength training the way that we do it, are completely passionate about helping people and empathetic and compassionate along that way and fit our core values. And they do an amazing job every single day in the training. I haven't trained a client in, I don't know, since 2017.
Really?
So it's been a long time. I did consultations for a handful of years after that, but I don't do anything inside the studios. My studios are literally a self-managing company. That's by design. I have studio leaders, which I call my managers leaders. I think people want to be led instead of managed. So I think that's important context, right? The way we title things and the way we lead people. I give them the autonomy to run the day-to-day, run the studios. But let's be honest, there's not a lot to manage inside of these studios because they are simple. I would say it's one thing. Well, it's 2 things. It's one-on-one personal strength training with a continuous tension protocol married with world-class customer experience. And so if the owner, our franchise partners, can go out and lead their team with the guidance we give them, with the core values that we fit, and go out in the community and drive the marketing, cutting the paid marketing is easy. Cut a check, pay a credit card.
Right.
And then meet with your agency and whoever's managing the ads and things like that and the creative. But we provide the creative. We provide all of that. And then they go and customize it to their individual studio and with their team and with their face and likeness and all the other things. But they don't have to do that if they don't want to. So that's that's why I would say as you grow bigger, it's, yes, you have more things to manage, but it's actually at the end of the day, you're still doing the same core competencies of driving leads, managing your team.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, completely. No, I completely agree. Completely makes sense.
Now we do have a couple owner operators or a corporate hybrid. They'll actually train a little bit, but run it from that perspective. But yeah, most of them are the executive model.
Yeah. So very interesting. And yeah, to your point, I think the majority, there obviously is a cohort of people listening who have aspirations like you, or maybe they have one location or multiple locations where they do want to work on the business more and be, and not be training clients all day. And then there are those who want to be a solo trainer or have a small team and continue training, and therefore their time is restricted, and they're trying to be more judicious about, okay, what do I do from a marketing point of view? If you were, let's take the extreme, the solo trainer who's doing 40, 50 sessions a week already, and they may only have, I don't know, 5, 6 hours a week. And this is funny because in my head, I'm like, yeah, but if you really want to grow your business, you should obviously be doing a fair amount of marketing every single day. But I guess I'm trying to make this difficult for you, Jeff. And I'm thinking about the people who've got young families who are also training clients, and, they have to be really thoughtful about what they do in those other hours. So if you were that person, what would you do from a marketing point of view, do you think? Where would you land?
Well, let's go back to Jeff in 2004, because Jeff in 2004 opened, well, let's go back to 2007, I should say. I had a business partner at the time, which is great. Love Josh and everything that we ever did together. Wishing nothing but the best. But that being said, in 2007, we had the Beechwood studio, and then we opened up our Westlake studio. I went out and ran that Westlake studio on my own. It was just me at the front desk running clients, and we built it from day one with me as a single trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And my first daughter was born in 2004. My second daughter was born in 2006. And then my third daughter born in 2009. So yes, even though I had a big partner, I was on building one studio now with one child, two child, three children, right? And so trying to build that, and then trying to build a team and doing the marketing. So yes, I would go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, when we could. I would, print was huge for us, and it still is. So doing the advertising and marketing, I wasn't ignorant to the fact that if I wanted to grow the business, I had to put money to make money. And I'm happy to do that all day long as there's a return. So, I'm of the mindset, if I can put $1 into the ATM and get $3 back, it's a win all day long. Now, not every marketing campaign gives you that return. Some give you more, far more. Some give you a little bit less. As long as it breaks even, it's good. And you're going to have your losers too. But that being said, just being strategic with your time. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I trained 60, 70 sessions per week up until probably about 2017, and ran the business and ran multiple studios and managed multiple studios, and had a team of, 3, 4 in each studio, and then had kids and other obligations, and, tried to be a dad and a husband and all those other things at that time. So yes, I think I was at the strength forum that Luke puts on, which is amazing. We missed you there, Lawrence, by the way. But that being said, I was fortunate enough to be on a panel, and time management came up. I was like, well, work-life balance. And I said, well, first of all, I don't believe in the fallacy, because it's not true. And I believe in what we call, somebody coined this a long time ago, but I stole it. Like I said, I told you earlier, I'm a synthesizer. I'm a creator.
Yeah.
I don't have an original idea in my head. I will take back borrow and turn it all into something else.
You have too much humility. Yeah.
Well, no, it's true though. I mean,
I know.
I call it, and somebody else called it, so I'll steal it. It's the blended life. Like, my kids know that if dad's in the office and the door is closed, but here's the context I give is, like, my kids understand when dad is grinding and working, the outcome for that is their Disney trip or their New York City trip or something else. So they're like, well, when I come out of the office, like, why aren't you back in there working? Because they know what I'm, so if you put it in perspective for them, they actually turn it around. So it's not that I'm ignoring my kids. I'm working and grinding and building something for them and a legacy for them, but also the things that we can afford and all the other things in the life experiences that we have. So, in the early stages, yeah, it's somebody asking the question. They're like, well, I just opened, it was, I'm grinding away. When is that going to stop? And we all looked at each other on the panel, because we were all there like 15, 20 years in experience. And we're like, it doesn't. And it doesn't, because you're always just in a new season of life, right? Like, I'm 21 years into this. I always know how old my business is, because my oldest daughter was born the year I started this company. So 2004. And ironically and serendipitously, she is actually going to be working for us. She actually worked for us this past summer, but she's graduating college now. She's going to be in our system. She's going to be a trainer. She has aspirations to own a studio. Who knows, take over for me someday. Which was never in my plans. I never thought about it, never mentioned it, but man, kids are perceptive and they are observant. One day she came home from college and she wanted to be into physical therapy, which I thought that was my life's path. And I said, she's like, I don't want to do PT. And I said, why? And she gave me all the reasons why I didn't go into it. I said, what are you gonna do? And she's like, I want to come work for you. I was like, do what? Because I didn't know about it. I want to be a trainer. I was like, all right, awesome. So side note, but you never know where life will take you from that perspective. So, now this is about building legacy for me. it's always about helping as many people as possible be healthy, fit, and strong in only 20 minutes twice a week. But now I've got more stakes on it. And getting into the season part of it is the fact that, look, I have 3 corporate studios. I have a great business. I have an amazing team, 25, 26 team members now. I don't have to franchise 3 years ago. I have one of my clients been with me for 21 years, and I told her, and she's a very successful business person. And she's like, you are insane for starting a franchise at this stage in your life. And I was like, why? And she's like, do you know how hard it's going to be? And I said, yeah, but do you know how fun it's going to be? So, I didn't have to start, but man, it's a grind. So yes, I've gone through that stage of getting it open, getting it to a capacity, growing teams, growing multiple studios, and now growing in a larger organization. And for me, legacy moving forward. So I always say it's a balanced life, or I'm sorry, a blended life, because there might be times at 1 o'clock where I'm not working and I'm taking my daughter to lunch or I'm doing something else, but it might be 7 p.m. at night where I got to jump on a call. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
in that, as entrepreneurs, at the end of the day, look, we're built different than everybody else. I mean, we're like the 1 or 5%, whatever they call it, and that's great. And, but we need the 95% to run the studios and do the day to day and all the other things. And I value them more than anything. I always say, look, I own the place, but they run the place. And that's true. I just come up and go to work for them every day, because without them, I couldn't be doing what I do now. With my 3 corporate studios, if I don't have teams leading it and running it on their own with my guidance and leadership, I can't focus on growing a national brand. So I'm
Yeah.
very fortunate and love my team. So, and I tell them that all the time. So they know it.
Talk to me. I'm going off script now because it's too interesting.
No,
Talk
I'm
to me.
completely ADHD, so I'll always go off script, but I
Yeah.
try to bring it back. I try
Yeah,
to
you're
use that.
fine. That's my
I try
job.
to use it as a superpower rather than for evil.
Tell me more about. I don't feel as passionate about legacy, but I want to know why you feel passionate about legacy and what does that mean
Right.
to you? What is legacy?
So I didn't until a couple of years ago when my
Okay.
oldest said she wanted to work in the company. Now my middle daughter is a sophomore in college and she wants to run in the company from a business and marketing perspective. She's not interested in the training, which is fine. So now it's legacy for me of like, I have a franchise partner who's coming on board with us, and he's building this. I have many of them who are building this for their children too. Like they want to be the leader. They want to show their kids that there's entrepreneurship and there's ways to, live a life and the life that you want on your own terms without working for somebody else, and do the things that you want to do and that you're passionate about. So for my franchise partner, he said, look, he had 3 girls too, and I have 3 girls. He said, I coach and mentor so many people, but not my kids. So why wouldn't I teach them the skill sets and everything I have to give them that advantage in life? And the same thing for me. Like look, the law of familiarity is
Yeah.
real. You can tell those closest to you one thing and they'll like in one ear and out the other. And all of a sudden they'll hear a complete stranger say it and like, my gosh, I heard this great idea today. Like that's a real thing. But kids are perceptive, like I said earlier. And so, I can tell them all day long, like I told them, I'm on a podcast. I'm like, so what? They're not impressed by anything. Talk about humility. That's why I'm humble.
They keep you grounded.
Not every day, which is great. And it's fine. But that being said, so, for them to have aspirations to be inside the business and to grow the business or to have, maybe take over for me someday at the end of the day, that is, I think it's something I never thought of, but it's the ultimate thing that I could do is to build this company for them to have an opportunity to live out their dream with inside of that dream. If they take it, that's fine. And if they don't, that's fine too. At the end of the day, I didn't build it for that, but now it's like, and now it's more pressure on me too, because like, that's a hard thing. Like you got to show up every single day because they're paying attention and they're watching. And you got to lead by example. So, me, I think it's actually invigorated me even more as if I didn't have enough passion behind this, to do this and do this right and to grow this as not as massively as possible, but as impactful as possible. Like, I don't care about how many franchises we have. I care about making an impact on the quality of people's lives of everybody that we touch on a day-to-day basis. And I can only do that through an extension of other people.
Yeah. That's a really interesting take because I guess my assumption was legacy. I always think generational wealth, but then obviously that's a part of it. But it's what I'm hearing more is setting an example, almost like breaking beliefs, showing your kids what is possible. Obviously,
Yeah.
giving them actual, real, like literal opportunities, but also just being a great example to them.
Think about the
Pursuing.
wealth of knowledge that we all have on this call. Everybody that, if they're a studio owner, whatever, whatever they are in their life, but they're at some level, right? Think about all of that knowledge and experience that we have that we could share with our kids, where they're not going to get any of that in college or high school or any other
Yeah.
thing. Where, I mean, I just, until recently, I just took it for granted. But now I'm like, I want to just share everything, like talking about, generational wealth. Like I grew up, my dad was a factory worker. I think the most he ever made was like $35,000 a year. He was a solo dad. I lost my mom when I was 5. We had 3 boys, and all those things to raise on his own. And I'm the first to graduate high school. I'm the first to go to college, let alone own a business. So, all of those things, breaking those ceilings within my generation and within my family, and now showing them what's possible from that perspective. Now, look, if they go that route, great. And if they don't, that's fine too. But I want to give them the opportunity because I hear about their friends that are looking to apply to grad school, looking for job opportunities, and they can't find anything. So I
Yeah.
look at,
That's AI, right?
yeah, yeah. So I'm grateful that I have this to be able to give to them, not give, they'll earn it, to give them the opportunity to grow within inside the company. So
Yeah. Yeah.
if they
Well
choose,
said.
that's fine too.
Yeah. And is it when you said there about we've got so much to teach, but going back to your point about law of familiarity, is you can't directly do that, but by pursuing your passion and building something great, you do that indirectly, and you're more effective at teaching those lessons versus doing it directly. Is that right? Is that how you
Yeah,
see it?
I think it's a hybrid of both. Like I'll give them
Okay.
things, like I'll give them books and like I give them Donald Miller's books and to read on marketing and things of that nature and story brand. I'll give them other little things like podcasts and things, but at the end of the day, I want them to try to organically go and find those things too. Like for example, Emma, my oldest one, when she came on board last summer, we had an opportunity that we were down a trainer and she wanted to, start training. I said, great, you're going through the exact same internship and training onboarding that all of our trainers in our system do. So I didn't do any of the training. Brian, my VP of training, has known me for 17 years, took her through the entire process, just like we do all of our team. The team then helped to train them. And I just checked in with them and with her and see how it was going. And she did phenomenal. I was so proud of her. It's funny because I was at a grocery store and one of our longtime clients, I knew that Emma was training that day. It was on a Saturday and I ran into him and I said, hey, how was your session today? And he's like, oh, it was amazing. I had the new girl, Emma, talking all about her life and she's so phenomenal. I said, well, that's my daughter, right? He's like, no. He's like, she never said that. I was like, yeah, she doesn't want to, put that out there. And I told her, I said, you're going to have the hardest opportunity or the hardest challenge moving forward because of the name on your back. There's the expectation and it's fair or unfair. It is what it is, but she blew it away. She's so
That's
good
lovely.
at it. I just love it. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. If you don't mind me asking, how old are your daughters now?
Yeah. So going into this year, because one just had a birthday, but 2 will. So we'll go with this year, 17, 20, and 22.
So when you were like building the business when they were really young, and I'm asking this selfishly because I'm
Yeah.
always trying to find balance myself. Were you like absent quite a lot in terms of growing it, or were you there for like bedtime stories and things like that? No judgment. I'm just curious, like
Yeah, no,
what
no.
that looked
So
like.
yeah. So in the mornings, my Westlake studio is 55 minutes away from where I live. We open at 7 a.m. So I had to leave the house by 6 a.m. My
Okay.
kids aren't up yet. So gratefully, my wife then, our thing was like, look, she'll get them up, get them off to school. It's 5 minutes from her office. It was close. And then I would try to be there for all the events and things like that. I would move my schedule. My thing was I wanted to be didn't want to be an absent dad. But I worked every Saturday from 7 a.m. till noon. So, we just
Yeah.
kind of moved things around from that perspective. But here's what I would tell you. And people say this all the time, and it's absolutely true. Your kids do not care about how much time you spend with them. They care about the quality of the time that you spend with them. So being present and active in those moments, right? So it's putting the phone down, ignoring the emails, and just spending undivided time with them and creating life experiences. We love going to New York City. We love going on trips. We love doing these things. And that's when I shut down and then give them my undivided attention. So that I think that's the important thing that I learned early on was, look, I might not be able to spend as much time as I want, but man, the time I'm going to spend, they're going to get it. So coming home and playing Barbies with my daughter and let her do my makeup. So that's what you get when you get all girls.
Right. Yeah. That's so funny. Oh, I'd love
So,
to see those old pictures, Jeff.
yeah, I don't have any of those.
Do you know what it's funny you brought up time management earlier, so shifting gears, because I was like, oh, one day I'd love to talk to Jeff about time management because I'm a super time management productivity nerd, as I know you are. Talk to me about that. Like, how do you manage your time? And we'll start there, and I can
Yeah. So,
dive in.
it's always top priorities first and foremost. So, for me, and everybody has their own thing. And I have no judgment around it, like morning routines and evening routines. And depending where you're at in your life in this, in the season and the scale of all those things, like, I spend time now. I've still got one in high school. So I get up every morning with her, make her breakfast, get her up and going, take her to school. So I spend that time with her. We're rocking out with music on the way to school to try to
Is
set
it
her.
is it Taylor Swift? Is it
Well,
primarily
it's
or?
every it's all place, yeah, for sure. But that is on the rotation for sure. I am very versed in pop music for sure, especially with
Oh,
three
where
girls.
are you?
And we
K-pop
love
Demon
live music.
Hunters?
I'm all about what's that?
Well, that's a bit younger, isn't it? K-pop Demon Hunters, anything
Oh
like
no,
that.
I know all
Oh,
those
is
too.
that?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, yeah. You're a
yeah, yeah.
connoisseur. Yeah, I
That
get it.
was no,
Yeah.
that was on rotation in my home on yeah forever. But that being said, look, spending that time, and then when I come home, it's like for me, it's like I want to set my Ryan right. So I'm gonna do my Bible study, I'm gonna do meditation, I'm gonna do gratitude, and then hit the ground running, and then try to prioritize what's the biggest task I can get done that moves the needle. So block out at least 60, 90 minutes if I can. First thing, by that time it's like 7:30 to 9 o'clock. And most people now are just starting to wake up and do things in the world. And then emails and things start to come through. And then I start to set my calls. And for me right now, a lot of my time is spent on calls with my franchise partners, construction, real estate, things of that nature. I've got an amazing team. Sarah, my director of onboarding, takes them from awarding to opening, takes them through that. The franchise development cycle, I've got Colleen
Nice.
who's been with me for 11, 12 years. She runs the entire cycle. I see them towards the end of that. So my job is really now is cultivating those relationships. And then I've actually recently blocked out my Fridays, and it's admin and project days. And that's so no meetings, no calls. And that's the first time I've ever done that. And my team, and you know what? Actually, I give kudos to my team because Colleen did it on a Thursday, and I think Sarah's doing it on a Monday. And I was like, wow, if they're why can't I do my team's doing that's smart. And they're like, we get so much done. I was like,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I give them the autonomy to be able to do that. I don't micromanage anybody on my team. So I'm like, that makes sense for me. So right now, like for example, I blocked out my entire Friday. Now we're hiring a franchise business coach. So I blocked it out. Now I have that entire day open. Interview after interview after interview after interview. I mean, I think I have like 8 or 10 of them on that day, half-hour interviews, which is perfect because it allows me then to have buffer time and free time to be able to plan those things that come in. Now that's not always, but I'll have that day to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. So,
I always try to cut my day by like 5:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, making dinner for my kids. God bless them. Meal services are great. But that being said, spending time with them, and then my middle one now is at home. She commutes and she likes to strength train finally now in the studio. So we're going up to the studio after it's closed. I'm training her, and then I'll train, and that's good time together too. So
nice. Um, one of the yeah, this is interesting because one of the things I've noticed with some of like I guess some hit studio owners, new business owners, is I take for granted this idea that you and I both do, which is we're very intentional with our time. As Cal Newport would say, we like give every minute a job. Like I assume that going into tomorrow, like exactly what you're going to do. You have it all time blocked out, right? Is that yeah? And I think that's something I took for granted a little bit because I would talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh, they don't have that. So because there's nothing sort of already in the diary, they could just procrastinate or scroll on Instagram or go and get a coffee or whatever it is. And so that's kind of what I'm hearing here. So we don't look, guys, there's this thing. We don't have to be as industrious as Jeff necessarily, but the idea is really important, which is that just be intentional with your time. It just works really well, doesn't it?
yeah, if you can be
Yeah.
attentive to your time, and like you said, I assign $1 to every minute, right? So, because
Mhm.
my time is valuable. And if I'm spending it on a lower level task that aren't worth my dollar amount, then I should delegate that off to somebody else, right? Or hire somebody to be able to do that. Now I'm not perfect with that. Like I still book my own flights, and that sounds arrogant. I don't pompous,
No,
whatever.
no.
Everybody's like, you need an administrative assistant. I don't have one. I don't have somebody at this level. Maybe down the road. I like doing that stuff. Actually, I want to know exactly when I'm coming in and coming out, and I booking those things. So I don't mind it. But it's probably not the best use of my time, to be honest. That being said, though, batching emails and phone calls and doing those things and putting days where you can have creative days or marketing days, whatever it is. Like I always, when I was in studio and running the companies, I would block out an hour every single day. My goal was either go and find a client or close a client. So that was it every single day. I'm like, I gotta find a client. Balloons. Look at that. That's how I sell. So yeah, and that I was relentless. I would go every single day, block out an hour. And my goal was get somebody scheduled for a consultation or have a consultation that day and close somebody. That's what I'm trying to teach my franchise partners. That is the best use of your time, is for client acquisition. Like, you are a marketer now. Like, we're a high intensity, fitness business. We help people get healthy, fit, and strong. That's great. But we are a marketer of fitness. I firmly believe that, because if you get into that mindset, then I think you're missing the boat. So it's getting educated on the sound bites and the education on getting out of the community, like we talked about and started the podcast with, is it's the number one thing to grow the business, is because once you have the clients, if we're all doing what we should do inside of there, the way we do it, retention is extremely high. You've got ample amount of time to grow your client base before, if you've got your marketing funnel, you don't have a bunch of holes out the bottom, so you build a base pretty quick if you front load it and put a lot of effort in the beginning, and money into acquiring those clients. So we front load a lot of our marketing spend. We require them to spend X amount of dollars pre-opening and then going into opening. We want to pull that money forward and all that effort forward to try to get a big bang going into it. Because if we can launch quickly, it just escalates. Because the more clients you get in the first quarter, 3-4 months, then you start to get referrals. And now that will start to take off. There's another marketing arm, is your raving fans. They become your brand advocates, and they're out in the streets, marketing for you. But that doesn't happen immediately when you first open the doors, because nobody knows you. They don't know you, like you, and trust you yet.
So well said. Before we go any further, I just want to quickly thank our sponsor, Barvik GmbH. Building a successful strength training business requires top quality exercise machines and a reliable source of spare parts. Sourcing Medix machines, known for their exceptional design and performance, can be challenging, often leaving you dependent on the secondary market. Barvik GmbH, based in Hamburg, Germany, offers a solution. Led by Egger Barvik, who spent over 40 years working with and learning about Nautilus and Medix machines, and also completed a 3.5-year apprenticeship at Mercedes, mastering quality engineering, Barvik produces German-engineered Medix machines in India with thoughtful enhancements over their US counterparts. Barvik machines are trusted by happy customers all over the world, including members of the high-intensity business community. They're even being supplied in large volumes to major fitness brands like Keiser Training. For example, my former business partner and current HIB member Sean purchased Medix equipment from Barvik for his studio here in Galway, Ireland, and both he and his clients couldn't be happier. From popular pieces like the leg press, pullover, and bicep curl to rarer gems like the super forearm and tibialis, Barvik offers a wide selection of 35 Medix models built higher for easy movement of a pallet jack, zinc-plated weight plates, flat steel core belts instead of carbon fiber, and adjustable 90mm rubber feet. And right now, you can get 5% off a minimum order of 6 machines. Visit medx.eu, tell the team what you need, and choose the machines to grow your business. That's medx.eu, medx.eu. And now, back to the episode. I think, it was my fault. I completely took us off course. But going back to lead generation, we were talking about in the context of someone who is much smaller, has less time to do those things because they're like actually doing a lot of the sessions, as were you in the beginning. If you had to just narrow it down to like 3 things you would have someone new focus on from a lead generation point of view, what would those things be for you?
So I would find a local magazine newspaper that is specific to my niche market, that is affluent clientele, because that's who we service. And I would advertise and become the expert in that magazine. You could spend anywhere between probably $300 to $700 per month. Now, if you think that's expensive, then I would argue that you're not understanding your metrics and your numbers. And here's the other thing because look, I'm happy to pay on average of $500 for client acquisition, because I know if I can spend $500 and get a client who's going to sign a 12-month agreement with us, which is $5,700, and then I can retain them for 3, 5, 20 years, who knows how long. The LTV is huge, the lifetime client value. So I'm always looking at it from that perspective. So, I'll be happy to go in public speaking, I think, is another thing. So I'm just trying to go back and think what really worked for me. And print was one thing. I've been in a newspaper. It's called Mimi Vanderhaven. It's like an oversized newspaper, but it's ads, but we do an advertorial. So I don't do an ad. I don't have a headline, a hook, and then a testimonial. I feature the client. along the hero's journey, right? So we're the guide along the way. They are the hero in the journey. We are supporting them, giving everything and the resources they need to get the result and the outcome that they want. So hopefully somebody who's reading that and seeing their story of where they started and they struggled, and now that the results that they've gotten with MaxStrength Fitness in 20 minutes twice a week without breaking a sweat, now they resonate with that and say, oh, if they did that, then I can do that. And that has worked extremely well for us, telling a story, because people want to hear stories. They relate to stories. So we're always storytelling, right? So I'm not just looking, when I do quote unquote ads, I call them advertorials. We're advertising a story within that, resonating with somebody who might raise their hand then and become a prospect. So I look at, first and foremost, I would go some type of high-end newspaper magazine that's your niche, spend a few $100 there, go out and try to get public speaking as much as possible. A lot of these
Public
magazines,
speaking in what sort of context? Like,
yeah.
go ahead.
So for example, now a lot of these magazines the publisher will do community events. Like they'll do in the neighborhood, they'll have, like, we had a Galentine's Day. So it was all the gals, right? And so they had a bunch of people. It was like a little appetizers and things. And then we had vendors, advertisers that had a booth set up, and then they'd walk around and we'd conversate. It's far easier for me to have a conversation with somebody one-to-one, face-to-face, and get them to understand what we do, how we do, and then just give them an amazing offer. Like we'll offer anybody that opted in for a consultation and 2 free sessions, which is our typical lead hook. Somebody there that night will win 1 month of free training, so that's a good hook.
Got it.
So, little things like that. And then the low cost, no cost things, 5Ks, golf events, golf tournaments, pickleball. Oh my gosh, that is huge for us right now in some of our franchise partners. I have a franchise partner who's going to be opening up in March, and he got a deal, a partnership with the pickleball club, and they just showed us pictures. It's MaxStrength Fitness, the banner all around the pickleball courts. He did an event that they had there, and they had a little table. He's already signed up 17 consultations when he opens up next month. Now, I don't know what will convert from that, but man, that's a huge lead generator right there. So going where your audience already is, showing up where they already are for those things. So you could do little booths and tables, and I consider that not really public speaking, but it could lead to that, right? So we have a group that's going to a women's event, and it's a golf event because spring's about to hit now. So they're going to do a little presentation. I already got the slide deck to send it to them. So you're educating, you're providing value, give them a Godfather offer, as I say that, an offer they can't refuse, right? From the Godfather of the movie. So give them an irresistible offer at the end. They'd be foolish not to take advantage of it. So, and then give a prize away and make somebody a winner, when you're doing those things. So just little things like that. So the paid things, the public speaking, try to show up where your clientele already are and partner with other people that are already servicing your clientele. So that would be a handful of things I would start with.
Yeah. So print pickleball partnerships, but that's not right. Print partnerships and public speaking. There you go. The 3 Ps.
Yeah. 3 Ps. There you go. Very nice.
Very good.
I'll have a good alliteration.
Yeah. Just easy to remember, right? Sure. No, that's so useful. And I completely agree with you regarding pickleball. It's super popular here now in Ireland, in Galway now as well. And I watch it sometimes when my daughter does ballet, and I'm looking at all these people going, this is like, I'm looking at them all thinking, you're all like perfect for a strength training studio. And you're all no doubt getting loads of injuries from this too, right?
So I always used to say, we fix CrossFit injuries. Now we fix pickleball injuries. So.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Now I might be the only person in the world that's never tried it. So maybe I should get out there.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things you mentioned, which I really liked, was you were talking about strategic alliances. And you would talk, okay. My question here is, I'm curious, when you go to a business who has the same customers as you, what is that? Can you be specific about what exactly do you do to build that relationship up? Like, what are you offering? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I just give you the broad view. It's like lead with value, right? Because we're going in there to try to develop a relationship. And if they don't know us, like us, and trust us yet, then we have to put our best foot forward. So the best way that we do that when we go into a community and we're opening up, we'll always have a grand opening. And our grand opening is typically, it's an event. It's like the ribbon cutting from the Chamber of Commerce. We're inviting all the active clients. It's usually about 2 months after we've opened, because we want to establish a group of clientele so that they can bring their friends and family. And then we go to boots on the ground, working on those strategic alliances. And we would simply just walk into the door and say, hey, I'm Jeff at MaxStrength Fitness. We're opening up a private one-on-one strength training studio. We serve the same demographic. I would love if you would give some type of offer from your business to our clients during our grand opening. Whatever your offer is, you know your business best. And also, I'd love to invite you over just to experience what we do, no obligation whatsoever. But I really think we could cross promote in the future. But if you have a gift that you would like to present at our grand opening and then show up, that would be amazing. That's your foot in the. So you're leading with value. You're not asking for anything for them to do for you. You're asking to promote their business. And we have, 15 to 20 different businesses now that will show up or at least give us an offer that we could do door prizes and giveaways during that grand opening to promote them. And then they get a new client out of it. So that's a win-win because I'm promoting them. Now I'm putting goodwill out there. It's the law of reciprocity. If I give you something of value, you're going to want to give back to me equal or more value that's possible.
Yeah.
Free initial consultation and 2 free sessions. It's the puppy dog close. I want to give you an amazing experience. Now I'm going to take it away before you got to sign up, right? So, that works. Law of reciprocity is in play there. So we always give value first. Give value, give value, give value. But the key is in the follow-up. And I cannot stress this enough. Not only from that perspective, but anything. And research will show it's like the 5-minute rule. I don't know if you've heard about this.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Call with the first 5 minutes. The response conversion is like 300% more than if you let it go like 30 minutes or longer. So speed to lead, we are always preaching. So you can have automation behind the scenes, like we have text and emails that automatically go out within a certain time frame, within minutes. But our speed to lead, if a lead comes in and you're available or drop what you're doing, go and call that person. Now, if you're training all day long, that's hard to do. I get that. I was in that place. But man, following up, the key is in the follow-up. Because if you just expect somebody that raises their hand and you're going to call them once or maybe even twice and expect them to reply, you're never going to build a business. So I was relentless on follow-up and persistence. I once called, and so our thing is this. If somebody opts into the day, call them as fast as possible. Let's say they opted in at 9 a.m. in the morning. Call them by 9:05 if you can. If not, call them as soon as possible. Call them back later that afternoon as well. And call them at least once or twice a day for the first 5 days in a row. And then after that, call them at least once a day for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then you have automation behind it with text and email as well. You have to constantly show up because people are like, oh, that's too many. I would get annoyed if somebody called me that much. I was like, look, you have a moral and ethical obligation, in my opinion, if somebody raised their hand that they're interested in your service and the results that we provide to get them in the door and help them. Because if they don't do it with us, then most likely they're not going to do it at all. Right? Or they just won't give suboptimal results.
Yeah.
So I'm shameless when it comes to promoting because I know that we have a great service to provide and I do them a disservice if they don't become a client of ours. And yes, that builds a business and grows revenue and all that. But if you lead with value first, from that perspective, so speed to lead, follow-up is key. I once had a prospect, I would do that exact same sequence. Back in the day, we didn't have all the fancy CRMs. And so I had a sheet of paper for every client and I had a track log that would call every phone call and outmail and voicemail and the outcome. I once called a person for at least once a week after a month, follow up with them for a year straight. Now, I didn't get that as a client because they moved eventually. Oh, no, I'm coming in. No, I'm coming in. No, I'm coming in. But I have so many people that now I had a woman on my email newsletter. So we send out a newsletter every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And we do that on behalf of our franchise partners so they can focus on client acquisition outside in the community driving. So they don't have to content. That's another value that add from a franchise partner. But we show up consistently. It's educational emails. I say they're things that they can win the war outside the door. And it's holistic. So it might be nutrition. It might be personal productivity, mindset. Who knows? We run the gamut from health and fitness. And Tuesdays are always about strength training. We call that mastery series, about educating, helping them inside the studio. But the other things are, educational from that perspective. But at the bottom is always their super signature and the call to action, right? So I always tell them, we show up consistently. You never know when a client's ready to show up and come in. So I had a woman call me yesterday. She said, hey, I would like to go, or actually it was a client of mine said, hey, reach out to this woman. I saw her. He's a plastic surgeon, a great world-renowned guy, high proponent of ours, refers a ton of people. He's just huge advocate of ours. He said, I had a woman, she's known about you for a while, but I think now's the time. So I got her on the phone and she said, wait, is this Jeff? And I said, yeah. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so happy to talk to you. I've been on your email list for 3 years. I was like, oh, well, that's awesome. She's like, I lost my sister last year, and you're the only email I put into a folder, and it's inspirational, it's motivational, it's helped me through this time. And I was like, it was just so heartwarming. I don't say
Oh,
that to
that's great.
impress you, but to impress upon you, the follow up is key. I've had so many people say, I've been on your newsletter list, or I've seen you in Mimi for the last 7 years. I had one woman 7 years. I was like, well, welcome. No time like the present. Better late than never. So you never know when they're ready, right? Like Dan Kennedy, the great marketer, says, you never know when a client's like waiting at the mailbox for Jeff to show up with an offer. So you got to constantly show up and be top of mind,
Yeah.
and persistent with your marketing, but persistent with your follow-up as well.
Yeah, preach. Like everything. I'm like, Jeff, have you been on my mastermind course? No, I know you know way more than me about all this stuff, but like it's literally what we've been saying. Probably thanks to people like you. Because I don't agree with the idea that we should play hard to get of any of this stuff. And I think there is a lot of that out there. There's a lot of that in HIT where it's like, well, if they're not interested, it's like, no, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Right. That's
I mean,
common,
and
by the
look,
way.
at the end of so here's
Yeah.
the way I look at it too. Servicing the clientele that we service, typically 50 and above and predominantly female, they're intimidated by a traditional gym. They don't want to go to a traditional gym. And when you're asking them to come into a gym, it's hard to get them just to take the first step in the door. So you need to do everything under your power to make it a pleasant experience and to make it easy to get in, make it easy to do business with. Right. So, we do
Exactly.
everything in our power to get them in, because once we know they show up, the conversion after that is extremely high. We just got to get them in the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it's like it has me thinking like, someone because I talk to people all the time about how they felt that someone wasn't a good fit. So they were like, well, I'm not going to keep chasing them up. And it's like, I've had it where you sign up that person who you think is not going to be a good fit, and then they become a massive evangelist. I'm sure you've had that many times,
Yeah. Thousands.
yeah, and it's like, so I really appreciate you sharing all this. I know it's true. And I hear this being echoed, by the way, by all the top business owners in our space. Right. So there is patterns, guys. And Jeff's really just laid out exactly what, a lot of our colleagues who are most successful are doing to nurture leads and convert more people. And I love what you said. You literally said it. And I'm not just saying this, but you literally said it how I say it, which is you said we have like a moral obligation. Like we're not selling cigarettes here. We're not selling luxury cars. We're selling something really meaningful. And I go as far as to say, and I'm kind of like half joking when I say this to our colleagues, it's like, I don't care how manipulative you are with your marketing, because like what you're selling is so profound and
Yeah.
transformative. Now, obviously I'm joking. There is always a line with these things, but it's like, well, at the very least we could be as persistent as, and there is a way of, this is an important distinction to make. It's the difference between desperation and persistence. Persistence to me is professionalism. You're never showing that you have commission breath or being desperate. You are just following a process, and you are being a professional, and you are trying to provide value and serve. That is the mindset, right?
Absolutely. Think about it this way. If you follow up with them consistently and relentlessly, right?
Yeah.
And they see, man, this person is so, passionate about what they do in the follow-up. What am I going to get once I join?
You're right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not sleazy, it's not salesy, it's not pushy, it's not, any of those other tactics. Yes, we have objection handling, all those other things. But at the end of the day, again, I firmly believe if they've raised their hand, we have an obligation to help them. And I always tell this to everybody. It's like, I don't know of any other endeavor outside of medical surgical intervention where you can profoundly impact the quality of somebody's life like we do through strength training. There's no better drug known to man than strength training for bone density. We see it all the time. Slow the trend, stop it, reverse it. Get off Fosamax and all the other drugs. And that's typical, not atypical for our clients when it comes to those things. And the countless testimonials that we have and success stories of just, I can always put my head down at night and thank God for what we do and how we do it, because we help so many people improve the quality of their life when most people succumb to that aging process. So we call it active aging, right? We give that, I think life's kind of backwards in the fact that, we work really hard and spend all of our time making money and building a life and all the other things. And we have our most vibrancy at that time in our early 20s and 30s and 40s. And now we get into our 50s and 60s and 70s, and we built our health, but we've neglected or built our wealth, but neglected our health. And that's the time when we want to go and enjoy it. But now we got aches and pains and doctor's visits and bills and all the other stuff that came because we didn't pay attention to it in our 20s and 30s. They always say the best time, to strength train was in your 20s and 30s. The next best time is now.
Yeah,
So
well said. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think the what I'm hearing when I listen to you, Jeff, is just like I think a lot of it's about having such humility, right? Just having a lot more humility in what we do, um, and that will go a long way in helping you grow the business. Um, awesome, that was so good. Okay, so shifting gears, why two free workouts? Why not one free workout?
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Most times when you pitch the initial consultation, like that's our typical offer, initial consultation and demo workout, so they experience it, plus 2 free sessions. The majority of the time, they don't ask
Also,
for
it's
2
technically free, like
technically.
exposures. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yes, it's technically 3. It's about 45 minutes for the initial consultation and demo workout. We'll do typically 3 exercises, and that we'll do leg press, compound row, and lumbar, because everybody needs to strengthen their back, and it's a novel exercise. Plus the Imagine Strength equipment that we utilize with the hip lock mechanism, which is profound. That being said, we'll do the initial consultation demo workout. If we don't get, we'll pitch them. We'll try to close them, go through our packages and everything. The majority of the time, we can get them to commit to a package at that time, even if we've offered the 2 free sessions, because people read things, but they forget what they got, right? And they forget what they read. They just know that they're coming in. But that being said, if they do say, they object over it and you can't handle the objection, which is typically 3 things in our industry, it's, I got to think it over. I got to talk to my significant other, or it's too expensive. And we have ways to handle all of those objections, by the way, because we teach our franchise partners to do that. Very classy, not salesy. If you can't overcome that objection, you don't want to push and prod into that, then no worries, Mrs. Jones. I put my hand down on we always have a printed version of our commitments. We call them our commitments, our packages. I put my hand down on the commitments and I say, despite this, does that make sense how it works? You need to get buy-in first and foremost, that they
Right.
believe in the studio, right? They believe in the protocol that you're doing. They believe in you. And do you like me? You like my team? We're not a-holes, right? Like you like the work for you, where it's great. It's good environment, good people, right? Get agreement there. Yes, absolutely. Great. I'm not going to let you buy today. How's that for sales? In fact, I'm going to do better. I'm going to gift you 2 free sessions after today. Come in, go experience it, get more experience, get them on my team, make sure it's a good fit for you. And at the end of the 2 free sessions, we only ask you to do one of 2 things. Either 1, commit to one of the packages we discussed today, or 2, apart as friends. That's fair, right? Yes. So we're getting something every time. And then 95% or 90% of the time out of that, they're going through the 2 free sessions, they're going to buy. We have what we call a pay it forward program. It's our referral program, if you would. So the pay it forward program is, I'll say, all right, and I'll flip over the page, because next page is our pay it forward program. They don't commit to a package. I'll say, here's our pay it forward program. It's an initial consultation and demo workout. You just got that. Plus 2 free sessions. I'm going to gift you 2 free sessions on behalf. We're friends now, Mrs. Jones. So I'm going to refer you into the business. I'm going to gift you 2 free sessions. Go through it, get more experience, everything I just said. If you know it now, if you know of anybody that might benefit, pass along our information, because if they join on your behalf, you'll get 4 free sessions. Helps you extend your journey, helps us get a new client like-minded, helps them get on their fitness journey. It's a win-win-win. So that's our referral program. So we'll get you started with those 2 free sessions today. How's that sound? Oh, that's great. Majority of people are going to take you up on your 2 free sessions. And even if they close that day, if we award them as a client, I'll still give them 2 free sessions on top of the package they bought. I'll go through the pay it forward program, because I want them to be engaged in our pay it forward program. I want them to know that this is how we do business together, is by them referring, and we expect it. It's an expectation moving forward.
Okay. So that's 4 on top of the 2. So 6 if they referred someone.
If they refer somebody, if they refer somebody that becomes a client, we give 4 free sessions on top of that.
Okay. I'm curious,
Think
do you find
about that.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
one clientele should be from referrals. They're going to be your best lead source, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
your longest brand advocates. And I'm happy to give away 4 free sessions. Now, what that costs to me is my trainer's time, right? So I pay my trainers, but it's a fraction of the cost of what I would spend in a marketing ad, and it's a better quality
Right.
client. And most likely they're going to refer as well. So I'm happy to give away sessions all day long from a fixed cost of my trainer's time in order to get a lead generation out of that.
Yeah, makes sense. And I'm curious, so what does the split look like between just organic referrals versus referrals from the program?
When you say organic referrals, you mean
Just spontaneous referrals that, come out of without being prompted.
without,
Yeah.
I'd have to, I don't know. I mean,
That's a tough one on the spot.
yeah, that's tough. I'd have
Yeah.
in those metrics. I don't have that delineation, but at the end of the day, we run campaigns that are strategic at least 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 times a year for referral campaigns. So, but my team is
Okay.
always coached that as soon as somebody says something good about us, like Mrs. Jones comes in and she says, "Oh, I was able to garden this weekend. I was able to get on the floor and play with my grandchildren. I was able to hike, bike, whatever the outcome is. I haven't been able to do that in forever. Mrs. Jones, that's amazing. That's exactly why we do what we do at Max Strength Fitness. Would it be unreasonable for us to ask you to refer somebody that might benefit like you? Get them to say no. You're not getting them to say yes. So speak that, right?
Yeah.
You get somebody who's like, no, that wouldn't be unreasonable. Oh, awesome. Do you know of anybody that, so could you give me a name or contact? I'd be happy to reach out. So my team knows that if somebody says something good, we do two things. One, we ask their permission to capture that as a testimonial. So it's written or we put in video, and then leave a Google review and 5-star rating. So you're always doing that. And then number two is, do you know of anybody else that might benefit? So referring into that. So that is constantly an ongoing conversation, my team with their clients, when anybody remarks about something positive from their experience with us.
I love that. I love that process. And just curious, like, do you find, I'm assuming that, and this is no judgment again, because this is very common, that it doesn't always get followed. It gets missed sometimes. People, it's just, okay,
Nature. I mean, it happens,
sure.
we're not, humans are
Yeah.
messy, is what it is. But if they can
Right.
get 80% of the time, then you're
Right.
hitting them.
Totally.
So-
Even 60%. Yeah. Go ahead.
Exactly. So that's
Yeah.
what I would say for like a studio owners that are on the podcast, like you're a solopreneur and you want to grow. It's like, well, nobody can do it as good as I can. Well, okay, I'm not going to argue that. But my thing was, a mentor told me one day, he's like, if they could do it at 80% of your capacity or your outcome, you will hit a grand slam. So I know if consultations can close at 80% of my close rate, then we're doing that. Put it in perspective for me. I'm like, okay, they don't have to be as great as I am, but I'm telling you what, it's funny. I was training my daughter yesterday. She's like, I think your team's probably better than you. And I was like, I hope they are. She's like, I haven't trained in forever, but I'm still a good trainer. I was like, yeah, I hire amazing people and they are amazing trainers. And I hope they're a better trainer than I am because that's what they do every single day. Right. So,
Right.
I think, give people a unique opportunity in the environment that they love to do it in and pay them extremely well, and create the culture. That's, at the end of the day, for everything that we do at Max Strength Fitness, we hire, we fire, we reevaluate, we promote, and I make educated strategic business decisions all based on our core values. And that's it. So I put blinders on, and if it comes into my filter of not meeting my goals and servicing the franchise and my corporate studios and it doesn't fit my core values, we ignore it. We don't do it. I don't care what amount of money it makes. I don't care any of those things. I've got a mission. I think that's my superpower, is to put my head down. My team always says, I put a post out, I think it was on LinkedIn or Facebook a little bit ago, and did a little chat GPT meme with it. They say I could work in a cave with fluorescent lighting with a drip. So look at my Facebook or Instagram or my LinkedIn page. You'll see me caricature of that doing that.
I will check that out.
And I said, that actually sounds pretty relaxing. That's so, just putting your head down and focusing on the goal, right?
Yeah.
We do one thing. We do it world class. And I think, and I'm not going to say we're the best in the world at it, but damn, man, I think we're pretty good at it. I think we proved it. So putting your head down and just that singular focus, but coming back to the culture. Building the culture was the first thing I did when I knew that I wanted to build this brand, is I had to focus on the culture of the team and the core values of the business. And I know that sounds cliche, but I think Peter Drucker says culture eats strategy for breakfast. That is absolutely my experience. Because we're going through hiring right now. We're hiring a chief experience officer in my studio. We're hiring a franchise business coach. All the leading questions, first and foremost, are all based on our core values. They have to be a culture fit first. Because if they're not a culture fit, then they're not going to survive within our culture, and they're not going to survive within the business, and they're going to be an outlier, and everybody else is not going to play well in that little small sandbox that we have. So culture fit first. The skills, I mean, man, we could teach anybody back there what to do from a trainer perspective. Follow the scripts, role play back and forth and understand it. But at the end of the day, you have culture fit first. So I would say from the leaders out there, I keep using that word, leaders. Like, I really think your business will only grow to the level of which it's the ceiling that you set as a leader, right? So I would say, don't ask about, what you're doing in your business. Ask, who do I need to become in order for that outcome to happen? Like, the person I am today is drastically different than the person 3 years ago launching a franchise. Like, I've learned so much. And there's some things that I didn't know, and that's fine. There's some limiting beliefs that people always have. And I think a little bit of ignorance is bliss because I don't want to play with their limiting beliefs. So I can set my own goals and my own ceiling, but you constantly have to keep raising your bar, right? And learning and growing. And that's why Kaizen, constant steady improvement, continuous growth is one of our core values. I always ask, Kaizen is one of our core values, constant steady improvement. Give me just no personal judgment, whatever, personal, professional. What are you doing in your life in the last 6 months for continuous growth with you? What podcasts, books, reading, whatever. And if they look at me like a blank stare, like a deer in the headlights, probably not a good fit. So
Wrong person. Yeah.
yeah. So you gotta find the right person first. It's always Dan Sullivan wrote the book The Who. It's the Who. It's all about the Who.
Yeah. Who, not how, right? Yeah.
What's that? What
Who,
is
not
it?
how? Is that
Yeah,
what it's
Who
called?
Not How.
Who, not
Thank
how?
you.
Okay.
I knew it was something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. No, it's just so people can find it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah, and just on that, in our first podcast, well, the last podcast we did together, you went through a lot more of the fundamental stuff about MaxStrength Fitness regarding core values and your business model. So I'll make sure we link to that. So guys, if you're watching this and you're on YouTube, we'll make sure we put the podcast we last did together, me and Jeff, in the description and in the show notes so that you can check that out because I think together these podcasts work well. Jeff, one final question for you before we wrap. This is actually a technical one, and it's about the workout. And I thought it was a great question from an audience member. And yeah, so it's quite a long one, so bear with me, okay? You do twice a week, 20-minute workouts is the general idea, right? Here we go. Are you flexible regarding potential slow recovery times for clients who might not be able to complete 2 sessions per week regularly? Imagine a client, it's a long one, with poor recovery capacity or someone with very high recovery rate who needs a full week to progress. Do you make any exceptions for these cases, or do you prefer to break the training into 2 smaller doses to allow the client to recover and therefore continue with 2 sessions per week? How do you feel about that? I can restate it if needed.
Great question. So the first thing I think too is somebody that has like fibromyalgia, fatigue syndrome, cancer, they're going through chemo or they're going through radiation, or they're going through some type of surgical intervention or they have autoimmune disorder, Hashimoto's, or something that's really debilitating to them. So recovery is crucial. Those are the extreme cases, but at the end of the day, we're going to meet everybody individually where they're at and take them where they need to get to based on their recovery, based on their tolerance, based on all of those things. So yes, if we need to go once every 5 days, fine. If we need to go once every 7 days, look, 20 minutes twice a week is the hook. It's the standard.
Yeah.
I'll train clients 3 days a week. They love it. They want it. They do it. We'll just program design it around it. It's few of our clients, but we'll do that. I'm not going to turn away the money. That's for sure. And we'll keep them safe. We'll keep it effective. We'll still keep them progressing. I know there's a lot of people out there as far as in our community that are just like, very just like, it's going to take 5 to 7 days for them to recover. You have to have they only train once a week. I'd argue that most of our clients don't train at the intensity that we do, and I say that compassionately, but at the end of the day, the stimulus is enough and the recovery is enough within that I think that they're actually getting to what they need the most out of it. And our results, the outcomes prove it. So, I've been doing this for years. So I got just thousands and thousands and thousands of sessions that anecdotally prove what we do and how we do it from a frequency perspective. But to that question, yeah, we don't have a cookie. I always say we don't have a cookie cutter exercise program for anybody. I have a protocol. We follow the protocol. I tell my team, learn the rules before you break the rules. And breaking the rules is simply meeting the individual with their limitations, what we need to do. Like I had a woman in, when I opened up in Flower Mound, Texas, she came in, birth defects. From the here above is no lid. So she has a little hook here on the elbow and she has nothing below the knee on her left side. She came in and said, I don't know if you can help me. Nobody else can. I said, well, I'm not going to promise you anything, but I'm pretty confident we can figure something out. Now she had this 6-inch strap that she would hook from her little hook here on the elbow. And I could hook that onto a gorilla hook, and on that, all pulling exercises. We could do chest fly, rowing back. We could do lateral raise. We could do pull over because she's got this contact point. We could do leg press because she's got a prosthetic. The only thing we couldn't do was leg curl because when you force coupled into it, it just pulled out of the socket. But that's fine. Yeah. Abduction, torsion rotation. We did lumbar, abdomen. You do every other machine. She signed up that day, and she's a raving fan. Now that's the extreme, but that's what we customize to the individual. So I always say we take on hip replacements, knee replacements, cages, fusions of the spine, cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, dementia, Parkinson's. We train them all efficiently, effectively, but most importantly, safely. And that's where we customize the program to the individual, even though we have a protocol in place. Does that make sense?
It does. If you just very quick follow-up, if you have put all of the very special populations aside, in terms of limitations, chronic diseases, etc., do the majority of your clients train twice a week? And if so, like what percentage, if you had to guess?
98%.
Oh, really? Okay.
I take that back. Let's go 95%, because we'll have 5% that are
Okay.
and that's either because of financial constraints or they've been forever and they just downgrade into once a week. So I'd say probably 95% of our clients will train twice a week.
Got it. Thank you, Jeff. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
The biggest I would leave with everybody is, look, as far as studio owners go, we all get enamored with our training and everything else. But at the end of the day, the business only grows at the speed that you grow your own identity. So we get fixed in the identity of like, we're one thing. Like I'm a, like we talked about earlier with the person who's limited with their time, you got to think outside of that identity, and who do I need to become is always been a guiding force for me. So I just like to share that with the audience is, who do I need to become to accomplish X, Y, and Z? And then go chase that and go get it. Because that's where all of the growth happens in the downtime. It's in the struggles. It's, it's irons forged in the fire. So, when you have the obstacles and challenges, I look at those as opportunities and growth opportunities. So, I heard a quote recently. It says, fear and faith demand you believe in something you can't see. You choose. So faithful can be fearful because we can't see either of those. So I really faith, it's tattooed on my arm.
There it is.
Only thing that carries me through day to day, losing my wife, suffering all that and going through all those things that I've done. It's just my guiding post. So, that being said, I don't want to preach, but at the end of the day, I don't know. It's who do I need to become? Who do I need to evolve into in order to achieve the goals that I want?
Yeah. No, thank you. That's a powerful parting message. And again, I just want to say to the audience, please go listen to our last podcast we did. It'll be linked below. Please also, if you're in the space, you are looking to start or grow your strength training, high intensity training business, join us on School. So we've got a free community, free group, school.com/HIB-free. Again, there'll be a link below as well. Jeff, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Who's your longest attendee in that?
Okay. So go on, Jeff. Jeff is like, we were, so, before we got recording, we were talking, we have a separate group, which is obviously the paid group, and Jeff has been a member since 2018. And I am so grateful for that. Jeff, you're a legend.
Yeah, I don't say that to brag. I just, for you to thank me. I just say it because there's value there. I mean, I wouldn't join if there wasn't the value there. So I appreciate everything you do for us in our small little niche community of high intensity businesses. You lead the way with bringing thought leaders and everybody together. So I really value the content that you bring and the expertise that you bring into the group. So yeah, if you're not a member of the private group, then you're missing out. So I would absolutely jump on.
And thank you, Jeff.
Give me a thing to say that.
Yeah, I'll send you that PayPal payment later.
Send you the royalty.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you saying that, obviously.
Absolutely. I mean, that all clarity.
Awesome, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you so much again. And I can't wait to do our next one. And so this is Lawrence with High Intensity Business, and obviously Jeff with MaxStrength Fitness, and we'll be with you again soon.